how to do a 180 on a fixed gear. Hello YouTube, it's your boy Jackson here, back with another tutorial, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to get a little more extreme, how to get airborne, and how to do a 180 on a fixed gear. It's airborne, it's a little bit more BMX influenced. It's one of the tricks that I do probably most frequently and combine it with other tricks that I'm doing, whether it's grinds or skids or wheelies or whatever else. It just links into so many things, and it's definitely going to take your riding up a notch and get you into some different territory when you learn how to do a 180. Let's talk about what you need first. Obviously, always mention this, but it's a fixed gear bike. A lot of this tutorial is filmed on my Constantine. It's probably not the most ideal bike to learn 180s on. Although I've never broken anything on it, I don't think that it would have been able to take the abuse had I first been learning how to do it. Now that I know the trick, I kind of know how to land it gently. Future editing self coming in for the third version of me with another note. It kind of sounded like I was talking crap on my Constantine. I'm not, it's a great bike, but I do want you guys to understand that unless you have a dedicated fixed gear freestyle, your bike was probably not designed for doing tricks. And 180s are really hard on your bike. They can be really hard on you because I want you guys to be able to continue rolling, and maybe this just isn't the trick for you. Obviously, by far the best bike to learn how to do a 180 on is a fixed gear freestyle bike. My Rough Bike Co sleeper frame is amazing. It's super durable. It's smaller so you can throw the bike around. I realize though that a lot of you are probably not that interested in 26-inch freestyle. My Squid So Easy is awesome for doing 180s. It's not quite as nimble as the Rough Bike Co for doing 180s, but it's a lot more durable. It's got big fat tires, steel frame, nice burly fork. I'm not worried about breaking anything on that bike. Definitely make sure you have some good tension in your wheels. You've got a durable setup. I can't believe that I forgot to mention wheel specs because it's probably one of the most important parts on your bike when you're doing 180s. You should have at least 32C tires. You want all the cushion you can get. You also want to run those at max PSI according to your tire. That way you're not going to be pinch flatting or hitting your rim on impact. Also, you should have at least 32 spokes. 36 is even better. You cannot run radial. I tried it once, broke my wheel immediately. It's not fun. If you're doing this trick and you're learning and you're falling, make sure everything's in good, proper working condition. I would definitely recommend riser bars or flat bars for this trick. Drop bars or pursuit bars, they're just going to get in the way. It's not going to give you the proper hand position to get the right leverage. It's also going to be a lot easier if you're in a nice upright position. Another thing that I recommend for a lot of tricks, but especially this one, is lowering your seat. You want to throw that thing all the way down. Like, you don't want it there at all. It's just gonna get in your way. You're also gonna wanna have straps and BMX platform pedals. That's gonna give you the leverage to pull up and get a nice bunny hop. The pedals are a nice wide platform so that when you're landing, it doesn't hurt your feet. Also, they're a lot more durable if you do end up throwing your bike to the ground. I'd recommend an easier-ish gear ratio. I ride 46/16. The longer your bike is, the harder it is to spin around, and your wheels at the back of your dropouts, you might wanna consider taking out a link just to shorten up that wheelbase a little bit. You also want a nice open flat parking lot, somewhere that's nice and smooth. I would recommend a helmet. Just, you know, be safe. You're doing something a little bit different on your bike. You might fall in a weird way. Wear a helmet. I didn't wear a helmet for a long time, and I'm glad I made it here, and I want you guys to stay safe too. So 180s are a little bit more of an intermediate trick. There's a couple things that you should know how to do on your bike before you even consider doing a 180. First and foremost is bunny hops. And by bunny hops, I mean a nice question mark bunny hop. If you haven't seen the tutorial on that, go check it out. I'll link it in the description. You want to be able to lift up your front wheel and then level out your back wheel in the air. If you're sort of just jumping and picking up your whole bike, you're never going to be able to get enough time and rotation to get a full 180 around, so definitely work on that before you start doing 180s. I'd also recommend practicing doing some fakies before you get into doing 180s. Just being comfortable landing backwards and riding backwards is definitely going to help you. It's a tough trick. Be prepared for that and give it time and practice. And so before you start trying 180s, you got to know your dominant foot, and you got to know the way that you're going to spin. It's really, really important to doing 180s, and there's a lot of fixed gear people who are doing 180s wrong, I guess. When you're doing a 180, you're gonna wanna have your front foot on the outside of your rotation. That means my right foot is forward and I spin left. If your left foot is forward, you wanna spin right. A lot of people do 180s fuck-footed. That's what it's called, it's fuck-footed. It's basically spinning with your front foot on the inside of the turn. When I first learned how to do a 180 on a bike, I did it fuck-footed. I just like to say fuck-footed, and I don't really need to beep it out. If you guys want to hear it, it's fuck-footed, but I just kind of like adding those beeps in. It didn't make any difference in the way I did the trick, but then I wanted to learn wheelie 180s, and I really struggled with it. I finally forced myself to learn 180s the other way, and it actually helped with that trick a lot. As you're doing more and more stuff later down the line, it might have an impact. For example, Chase is fuck-footed. He's done it that way for forever, and he will continue to do it that way for forever. And he still does amazing tricks. He does more tricks than I can do. There are some combos of tricks that he's maybe not necessarily able to do as well because of it. So now that you got that all figured out, let's teach you how to no, that was a 360, 180. That was so dumb. So for 180s, you don't need to be going super fast. The only caveat to that is if you're landing and going fakie, you might not have enough speed to roll backwards, but we'll get to that later down the road. So the 180 first starts with the carve, and the carve is really, really important. The carve is gonna set up the rest of the trick. It's gonna give you all the power for the trick. So you're gonna wanna start your carve when your dominant foot is vertical, and it's more than just leaning. You're actually gonna be turning the bars that direction, getting set up for the trick. As your front foot starts to move past vertical, you're gonna wanna push down on your front foot and lift up the front wheel. As you're lifting up the wheel, milk it, baby. Get as much of that rotation as you can out of the way before you even consider lifting off of the ground. It's gonna help you a ton. It's gonna make sure you have less rotation to spin in the air. It's gonna give you more pop once you get into the air. When you're doing this sort of wheelie carve part of the 180, it's not like a regular wheelie where you're in the seat sort of using your weight. You're really gonna be yanking it up, have your body weight over the back wheel. That's why you really don't want your seat to be very high, because you don't want it to get in your way. Your legs are gonna be somewhat bent, nice squat position, ready to pop. Once you've got a good carve down, your front wheel's in the air, you're almost spinning 90 degrees, you're gonna wanna pop the bike up into a bunny hop. When you're popping the bike, your feet should be just about level. You're almost gonna feel like if you kept spinning and didn't do the pop, that you would high side and tumble over the other way. Once you feel that kind of like tipping point, that's exactly when you're gonna wanna lift up and bunny hop. Right before you lift up in the air, you're gonna push down as hard as you can, and then use that leverage to pop into the air. Use your straps to suck up the bike. Getting a good amount of height into the air is definitely going to be helpful for getting the full rotation, but the most helpful thing for getting the rotation of the 180 is turning your head. A lot of people, and myself included, when I first tried 180s, I didn't fully commit. I was a little bit freaked out, turning my body, but still kind of staying forward, and you're never actually going to be able to do the rotation unless you turn your body, spot your landing, and fully commit. It's gonna feel really weird at first, and it sounds really simple, but it's something that you have to really, really think about when you're doing the trick. It makes all the difference in the world. I think the hardest part about 180s is getting the full rotation around. You know, being confident, that seals the deal, baby. That is what's gonna do it. That's how you're gonna get there. So you got the rotation in the air. The next thing that's up is landing and rolling away from the trick, because it's really not a 180 unless you can do a clean get out. Landing at first can be really, really difficult. This is what can mess your bike up. RIP to all the wheels out there who were hurt doing 180s. Make sure that when you're landing, you're nice and loose and trying to land as evenly and squarely as possible. Your body is able to compress and absorb the impact. It's gonna make it a lot easier on your body and your bike. Let her down gently. It's one of those things that just takes time. The get out. Obviously, get outs you can do a variety of different ways. You can do sliders, you can do, you know, a little keo spin, you can just do a turnout. I talk about this a little bit more in depth in the fakie tutorial, so go check that out if you're interested. I'll link it in the description. You don't want to do what's called a repo. Shout out to Matt Spencer for coining the new term. It's basically when you 180 one direction and then you do your get out the opposite direction. It doesn't really look that clean. It makes the get out a lot harder. When you're landing, you kind of want to land with your wheel a little bit sideways, and it's most natural if you continue the direction that you were already spinning. For some people though, the repo comes a little bit easier for whatever reason. You know, in the BMX world, it's really looked down upon stylistically. I definitely think that it just doesn't look as clean. It doesn't look like you really know what you're doing as much. So as much as possible, try to avoid it. It's also gonna make getting out a lot easier if you do it the correct way. So there's a couple things that can kind of go wrong with 180. If you're doing the 180 and you're just coming to a complete dead stop, you're either not getting enough rotation or you're not centered centered over the bike when you're landing. The first and foremost is not getting enough rotation. Just really lean on that inside edge, turn your upper body, your bike will follow, and that just takes practice, it takes time. And of course, make sure that you're turning your head. To sort of help the roll back a little bit, you can try doing this on a slight downward incline. One thing that I do a lot that helps with landing my 180s is landing back wheel first. Basically, I'm just trying to set the bike down, gradually instead of just slamming it down on the ground. It makes the landing a little bit more gentle. It's a difficult trick. It's in the air, it's hard on your bike, it's hard on you. We're riding these goofy fixed gears that are way too big to be doing tricks on and fragile and have small tires, and it's hard. I'm glad that I learned it. I've never stopped doing them. It's probably the trick that I do the most. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Follow FOAD on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Oh no. If you guys want some FOAD gear, like me, go check out FOADgang.com. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when new tutorials come out. I appreciate you guys tuning into the channel. I really hope this helps you guys learn, and I'll see you guys in the next video.